I've looked at a lot of different systems over the years, and what I like about Paul's system is that we can incorporate a number of the different concepts into our defensive tactics training here. So one of my collateral duties is I handle the defensive tactics training here at the division for our agents. And to me, there's nothing more important than our agents being prepared to go out in the field and deal with the threats that they have to deal with on a daily basis. What I'd like to do now is turn it over to Paul, and without further ado, we'll get started.
Thanks, Jeff. Okay, this is my half hour. I want to take a look at everybody so I can kind of gear my seminar where I want to go. Okay, I have a good idea, but so let's everybody grab a knife, stand up, and give me some carenza. Ready? Now, I want you to take 5 minutes, get some water, get your notebooks out, get prepared to take a lot of notes. Knife fighting, you either have a single knife, you have a double knife, double blade. You have what is known as a espada y daga, or a long and short. Or you have too long, which is we refer to as senawali. This is supposed to be a blade. We have some lost Canadians. So now we have considerably simplified the equation for you, okay? So think in your head about how many different knives there are and all the brand names, okay, and how they all open. Whether you're flipping it around or snapping a button, does it pop out this way or zoop out this way? What are the idiosyncrasies of the knife? We don't care. That's the first thing, okay? We only care about the length of the weapon because that's what dictates range. And range is one of the most fundamental things that we're going to be teaching here. Okay, so you might want to write that down. We only care about the length of the weapon because it dictates the range. I don't care how you opened it. You could have flipped buttons, switches, done anything you wanted. Okay, ballet song, open it up and get all fancy on me. Once it's open, you got to now, how can you fight? How well are you? Okay, are you a fighter or not? How well you can open the thing up has nothing to do with anything. So let's never, ever get enamored by fancy knives. It doesn't matter if it's particularly serrated or just forget about all that stuff, okay? Just worry about the length of the weapon. Okay, so what's the first length is what? The first weapon is single knife, okay? Next? All right, excellent, okay? Now, we're going to further break up the equation into two types of training. Self-perfection and self-preservation. Would someone like to delineate for me the difference? Go through with me?
Self-preservation are the tools that I develop to protect myself when the crap hits the fan.
And what's self-perfection then?
Self-perfection are the things initially that I do that go beyond that. That self-preservation are skills that will help me deal with 90% of the population.
Okay. Now,
Self-perfection are skills.
good. Now the answer was right, Aaron, but change the tense from I to we. Okay? So did you hear that? Self-perfection, self-preservation. Self-preservation is the brass tacks. That's a guy coming at you with a knife, you got a knife, boom, you got to react. It's the only thing you would do in a fight to save your family, whatever it is. And we'll talk about what it is. And it is defanging the snake. That's it. So self-preservation is sparring. And sparring can be broken down into either, and I'm going to choose my words well here, either soft or hard. Okay? Because everybody talks about, is it hardcore? Is soft bad? What's the difference? Okay? So we're talking about self-preservation, and it could be with any one of these weapons. So the next issue that we have to bring into fact is that it's either mixed, knife against knife, double against double, a spuddy dug against a spuddy dugga, or it is unmixed. We'll just say matched and unmatched. Okay, so take a look at that so far. Yes?
Could you elaborate on soft, which is hard?
Right. Now, hardcore, let me just elaborate on what hardcore means in martial arts in general, okay? Hardcore is that you take it to the max. You go for it, okay? In boxing, hardcore is not that you both duke it out. That's not hardcore, okay? Hardcore is that you go into a gym and find a pro, okay, and you spar with him. That's hardcore, and you train for 2 or 3 weeks with this pro, and you go along and you do his curriculum, okay, until you just think you want to just die, okay? Jiu-jitsu, hardcore, is to find a hardcore instructor and jump in his class, and oh my God, it's hell, okay? You get into a Megaton's class in the middle of the desert. It's already 110 degrees, and he goes, let's turn up the heat. And he's cranking up the heat. And he's got his guys on, just passing the guard after an hour and a half. That's hardcore, okay? So hardcore is one way of doing things, okay? Hardcore stick fighting would be, have you ever been to a tournament? They put helmets on, and they beat the shit out of each other. That's all they do. I mean, it's crack, 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 and they're trading blows. And then somehow they ascertain that this guy beat this guy, okay? He hit him 35 times, and he hit him 34 times, so he won by 1. It's like, akin to a Navy SEAL, and we both have an MP5, and we both unload the clip. And I got you with 21 bullets, you got me at 20. So I beat you. Okay? Which bullet counts the most? The first one. Okay? But am I to say that we should never hardcore knife fighting or stick fighting or ground fighting? Of course not. But you can't live your life that way. Because if you do, you'll burn out. Okay? I'm going on 40 years old. I started this shit when I was 9. I haven't had a boring day in my life. The day I do, I'm going to take up skiing, okay? Because I do not plan on having one boring day, okay? Because it's how you look at the picture, how you train. Training hardcore gives you an element in here you need. In the world of knife fighting or stick fighting, I would say it should constitute 5% of your training. So that's 1 out of every 20 days, if that. That's once a month, and that's probably still, I don't do it that much. Okay? So that means, going back to our seminar, getting a blade in the hand, 2 blades, 2 long blades, and going at it. Okay? Gives you that adrenaline rush. It gives you certain attributes that perhaps are necessary, but not that necessary. If that's all you do, you'll burn out. And you'll never, ever have good body mechanics. Okay? Have you ever seen the Tough Man contest? Anybody? Raise your hand. Do they look similar to boxers to you in a way? Well, but see, what I'm saying is they're doing boxing punches. They're hooking. They're doing crosses. They're doing uppercuts. They're doing overhands. Okay? I need Pepto-Bismol after I'm done watching them. Okay? But that's the difference between somebody who's taken the time to refine their movement and tighten things up, or just put on the gloves and say, hey, let's just go apeshit. Okay? So if you do that with a knife or with a stick or whatever, you're not developing the finer points. Okay? So hardcore is 5%. Okay? Soft in the world of knife fighting is probably my absolute favorite drill. Okay? That's within a handful of my favorite drills. And I've got tons. Okay? That just means you put some protection on your hand, you get up on your toes, you move around, and you try to cut each other. Okay? Because it's the first cut that counts. When this thing cuts your tendon and they're flopping around, there's no way to hold on to the knife. Pain tolerance is a moot point. It doesn't matter what drug you're on. We're talking about just the physics of what it takes to hold on, to grip something. Well, if that's severed, and that's our main target, that's one of the things that gives us the advantage over the other guy. They're going for our face or our head, and we're backing up and cutting their hand. And we need footwork, distancing, and timing to accomplish that. Okay? Footwork, distancing, and timing. There are going to be parts of our seminar that you're going to have to take sort of arduous notes, okay? And then you're going to be training your butts off, and it's going to go back and forth, okay? This is going to be a little bit harder than our normal seminar. I'm going to be requiring more from you, okay? What was the last thing I just said?
Requiring more from us.
Pardon me?
You'd be requiring more from us. It was.
Man, you guys are very precise. This is good. This is good. Footwork, okay, thank you. Okay, so when we spar soft, okay, we're going to be implementing footwork, distancing, and timing. These are the 3 key elements that will make or break you. This will determine whether or not you're going to win or lose, live or die, okay? When you're in a knife fight in the back of some 7-Eleven at 2 in the morning, okay? And the unfortunate thing is, when you are forced to confront violence, you never know when, you never know where, you never know how. It's never when you want or expect. Well, I don't know if you ever want, but it's not like you're all warmed up and you're coming back from the gym and you got your sweats on, okay? It's just, it's at the wrong time, and you're always with your family, okay? And there's so many things going through your mind. God, do I want to get arrested? Jeez Louise, do I want this guy's blood on my body? I mean, just, you're going through all this crap, okay? And that's what we have to talk about. These are the issues we have to deal with, okay? So you need to be prepared so you can strike, and you can strike hard and fast, okay? Nothing will ever make any of my instructors fight unless they're attacked. That's just one thing in PFS. That's sort of like our code, okay? Nobody goes out. This is not 15 years ago. And we don't go out into bars, okay? The training methods nowadays have gotten so much more sophisticated, we don't need to do that, okay? If we have you stick fighting and you drop a stick and you grab a knife and then you knife fight and then you kickbox and then somebody gets in and traps and headbutts knees and elbows, then they hit the ground, then they go to Kitamutai, they're doing their jiu-jitsu and then until I'm back up again, then I add somebody else and then it's 2-on-1. By the end of that training day, hell, you were in a fight. It's a fight. Okay? You don't need to go out. So therefore, if we know that the only thing that would make us fight would be if somebody is going to do something to our family, then we can fight with impunity. Okay? There's no ambiguity. It's a real important point. You draw the line in the sand. Okay, so when we spar soft, whether it be a long blade and a dagger, 2 daggers, okay, we're up on our toes, we're moving. We're always implementing those 3 attributes. We're developing those 3 attributes, okay? So this is the self-preservation side. Now we go over to the self-perfection side. Self-perfection means that you are training. So how can you train? What are the ways? We need to categorize things to make this enormous cluster of information, okay, make it understandable for you. So when you go to seminars and you see all these myriad of disarms and techniques and foot sweeps, and you see it from so many different people, and you know, now the thing nowadays is to be eclectic and to go get as much information as you can, and my God, we've got people with so much information in their heads. What I'd like to do is I'd like to make sense of this for you, especially, or at least now in the world of knife fighting, okay? So when you're talking about self-perfection, there's only 2 ways you can really train. Either you're doing a drill in which you're both flowing, and that's called sombrata, or you're doing a drill in which one side is feeding. One side feeds the weapon, and the other side does the attack, okay? Those are really the only 2 ways you can train. Everything has to fall within the confines of one of those 2 ways. So the other is numerata, and the third is serrata. The difference being, serrata, one person is feeding, but you can't move, you can't angle. You got to stay right in front as if you were in a bar situation and you have no way to use footwork. So you only have your reflexes to depend on. Numerata gives you the luxury of having footwork so you can zone. So if we were to talk about hubud, where would it fall on that flow? Yeah, I just said on that flow, did you? I gave you your answer. Okay? If we're talking about chisao, where does it fall? Sombrata. Exactly. Okay? Now, back when I first came to the Calling Academy, we did probably, for 4 years straight, 70% of our work was numerata, sombrata, or serrata. Those are the table legs that build an infrastructure of body mechanics that will turn you into a knife fighter. If you only spar, and if you don't do this stuff, you won't have that movement. You won't be crisp. You won't be on. You won't be able to explode. You'll be just ponderous and clumsy like, you know, one of these guys in a tough man contest versus somebody that's just sharp versus that boxer that's been trained. So we won't be able to get all the attributes out from you if we don't go over here. Okay? So now, with this alone, this is it. This is what you're going to do for the next 14 and a half hours. You are going to train these areas. Okay? Let's start putting together the combinations. Actually, what I'd like to do is I'd like you to see a demonstration of each and every one of those. So Tom and Ryan, why don't you guys come on out? Let me move this. Why don't you guys in the front row back up? Did we ever get our other blade? Okay, we can just use those. I want you guys to all look on the board, and I want you to tell them what you want them to work. And the reason I'm doing this is because I want you to see the enormous well of information that you have with that formula. Okay? This formula gives you, pay attention, Aaron, I got you? Okay? This formula gives you enough information to go for a week, 2 weeks, a month, and never repeat yourself, 8 hours a day. Okay? So let's play with it. You're either going to ask them, Tom, single blade, Ryan, double blade, Aspade Daga, let's go Sinawali. Let's go Sinawali, one side feeds Simbrata, and the other side have double blade. One side has a single blade and feeds Numerata, and the other side has 2 long blades. Now let's have the guy that has 2 long blades. Hey, we got our blades, speaking of blades. Okay? Now that we got the guy that has 2 long blades, let's have him do Simbrata, and then all of a sudden kick into Numerata. Okay? So as you see, there's so much information. Okay? And I want you to see how it's trained. Okay, so what do we want first? By the way, we've got our other blade here, so we don't need a stick. Here you go, so you got that. Okay, pick.
Sinawali versus single blade doing Numerata.
Okay, did you hear that? Sinawali versus single blade doing Numerata. One side can feed. We'll have Ryan feed first. Okay, go. Great. Thomas, you feed. Same thing. So what you see there are body mechanics being used, okay? And the body mechanics that are being used are going to transpose themselves when they spar, okay? So what you saw there, the way they moved the body, it came from these drills, okay? So let's change it up, okay? Give me something else. Raise your hand. Okay? Okay, single blade for you, long blade. Long and short for you, Tom. And now do you want them doing Simbrata, Numerata, or Serrata? Okay, since we just did Numerata, why don't we do a different one? Okay, Simbrata. Okay? So whether one guy's got a blade in his hand, one guy's got a long blade. Now, drop the long blade. Tom, you give him the short blade. And you keep the long blade. Okay? Simbrata. Okay? That's because they're flowing. Now, if we say Numerata, you feed, Ryan. Go. Doesn't matter who feeds. Tom, you feed. going to learn is we're going to learn a program that breaks it down to where nobody could ever say to you, I flew to New Guinea and learned this new way of training, okay? Because it's got to fit within the confines of one of these areas. There may be a technique somewhere out there that you don't know with a knife or some new drill, but it's in your heart you have to know, okay, that's a good drill. I'll either throw it away or I'll add it, but it falls under numerata or it falls under sumbrata because both of them are flowing. If they're not flowing, then they got to be sparring. And if they're sparring, it's got to be one of these weapons. Or it could be mixed. So that's the big picture, guys. That's 30 years information. That's the big picture right there. Okay, let's do the one we didn't do so you can see it. Why don't you grab a small blade and you have double small. The one we haven't shown you is serrata, which means one side feeds, but the other side cannot angle. This is if you're stuck in a real tight situation. I don't know if you realize what's going on there with razors going across the face, but you know, one person that knows how to use two of those knives could take on this entire room. Okay, this entire room, you couldn't stop them. If somebody wanted to just go off the deep end, once they have the body mechanics, where they could really hurt somebody with the knives, not just make superficial cuts. Okay, so you just have to truly understand how lethal this is and what we're working. Okay, so we have, I'm going to recap, please. This is the time for questions. You guys are done, relax. Okay, come closer, ask Uncle Vu anything you want to know before we get rolling, because we're about to train. Okay, when we get to the part where we're going to be sparring, I'm going to have you go outside most likely. Okay, there is an element in here that I want you all to deal with, and that's the adrenaline, okay? So my way of getting you the adrenaline rush is we're going to have a little tournament, and that'll be Sunday. And it's no big deal. It's not live or die. Our judges are just going to be people making mistakes, and trying to judge a knife tournament is about the most difficult thing a human being can do. Because when two blades go like that, it's like, okay? So, but we're going to do the best we can to judge this thing, just to give you that little feeling, okay? And the winner will get a little $300 program for whatever you want in the future, okay? So, anyway, that's our agenda. So this is what we're about to learn. This is going to be the next, couple hours or hour and a half or whenever. Then we're going to go break for some lunch, and all afternoon we're going to be doing this. And we're going to work this first, and then toward the last half hour, we'll do some of this so you can all break a sweat, okay? So, picture it now. Single blade, double blade. Spotty daga, two long blades. That's it. Doesn't matter what kind of knife it is. It's got to be one of those. Now, are they sparring? If they're sparring, they're either going soft, stressing attributes and footwork and timing and distancing, or they're going hard for that emotional thing that you get. That should only be 1 out of 20 times at best. If they're sparring, is it single against double, double against knife? Okay. Now I'm going to give you the single most important thing you'll ever know about sparring mixed weapons. Okay? So write it exactly the way I say it. The longer the weapon, the further the range. The shorter the weapon, the closer the range. So that means if I have a long blade and you have a knife, your knife will do you absolutely, positively no good if I can keep you out. Okay? So what you got to hope for is that the one cut that you're going to receive on the way in is not lethal. And then you can and play your odds. This is not good. This is a real knife fight. Okay? But the stuff I'm saying is also applicable to the stick too. We could say staff, double stick, single stick. This is all, it's just weaponry in general. Okay? Question?
How many long knives are actually out there that you have to defend against?
Well, fortunately, that's not they don't have a lot of machete type attacks, okay? I look at it more like this. If I need to defend myself, I'm going to carry my long blade. Okay? If I'm going camping, me and my long blade are coming with me. Okay? Yeah, because I know just how many people I can keep off with that thing if I had to. Yeah, but short blade would be a lot more to worry about. Okay? But you can also think of a long blade as a pipe too. Because if a guy has a pipe and he smashes your hand, it's just as lethal as if the person cuts your hand. You won't be able to hold your weapon. So the long and short does come into play. It's not always the long blade. Actually, that's sort of the lost art. You just don't see them doing that anymore. Ben Largusa passed away, by the way, so put him in our prayers. Okay? A lot of the old masters, you know, and the stuff that Dan taught in the old days is, or he still teaches it, is gone, you know, they're gone. And a lot of the way they move. And when we talk about Sombrata and Numerata and Serrata, that's what they gave us. You don't see the young kids doing that nowadays. Okay? Tom, can I grab that water from you, please? What you see them doing is they've homogenized weaponry into stick tournaments, and, you know, they came up with unrealistic tournaments. I still think it's good to enter a tournament, whether it's a boxing match or a stick match or a ground fighting match. It gives you a little bit of soul. Okay, it's always good to do that once in a while, but as long as you don't get caught up in that way. Okay, so that's where Sombrata, Numerata, and Serrata kick in. It give us a different kind of body mechanics. And I can promise you, it is the same, the identical body mechanics that you need to take somebody out of commission with a headbutt, a knee, or an elbow. Anytime I've ever seen anybody throw a headbutt in a real fight, it looks like this. They elbow each other like this, okay? They can turn into punches, but when it's time to elbow, they go, okay? I love it. I mean, that's like watching a boxer go. I mean, if you could boom, turn in and boom, put everything into your headbutts, and that you just don't get those mechanics from butting bags on or whatever, okay? They come from the weapons. That's really, really important. Okay, any questions now? Now, how many people have never done Sombrata in their life? Raise your hand. How many people have? Raise your hand. Okay, how many people have never done Numerata? Raise your hand. How many people have? How about Serrata? Okay. How many people feel that they're confident that if I erase this board, they could get up and more or less explain the program? Raise your hand. Okay. How about if you're not ready yet? Raise your hand. Okay, I just want to get a barometer for where we're at. Okay. This is all of the weapons split into two types of training. They're either mixed or they're matched. It's either hard or it's soft. It's either Sombrata where you're flowing, Numerata where one side feeds, or your feet and one side is not allowed to move. And any other drill you learn or see coming from somewhere and you go, wow, I've never seen that drill before, but he's feeding, he's got a blade, and he's got a stick. Okay, well then it's this with that under this. Okay? So you've got a way now to take all this information. All right, so as I said before, in a workshop, we're going to be mixed, okay? You might be a student, you might be a teacher, okay? So I want everybody to find a partner. I want you to all spread out, and I want you to do, we're starting off doing Sombrata. I want you to do Sombrata for about 3 minutes with every possible category, okay? Every possible category. Sombrata was a pattern that was developed by Dan to teach people how to flow quickly. Okay? It's not exactly the traditional way that it's taught. It just really, really speeds up the process. It can get two people flowing and moving and body mechanics happening and reacting in a matter of months as opposed to it taking a matter of years. Now the problem, the flip side of Sombrata is you tend to get stuck in the pattern. Okay? So, Tommy? Here are some ways that we can teach you how not to get stuck in the pattern. Okay? We're flowing back and forth. Tom thinks that each pattern, each number is the same one. Instead of doing one, I fake. That makes Tom have to react. Instead of going here, I fake up to here. Instead of going here, I fake down to here. I can fake this back to this. So Tom now doesn't know what pattern I'm going to do. He doesn't know when the fake's going to come in. He's just, and then I go back to this again. I go back to my flowing. But he thinks the one's coming, then I drift to here. He thinks that's coming, then I shift to here. It feels a little bit sloppy. It feels like, geez, you mean I'm actually sparring here? Okay? As opposed to it being like this dead click, 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 click. You will go to your grave doing this for 12 years. While the coffin's closing, you'll be going click, okay? So the best way I know to get out of that is fakes. So fake one line, come to another line. But if you both fake all the time too much, you won't ever get back to the pattern. Okay? So throw a little faking in and then kind of return back to the pattern. And gradually get to where your rapport is that you can do it better and better. To where Sombrata should be like a snowflake. Okay? And no two are the same. If you flow for 20 seconds, you should never repeat the way you flowed in those 20 seconds for the rest of your life. It's not possible if you do it right. Because the little nuances of the angles of the way he's faking and the rear hand coming in and you having to react to it. Okay? So how can you ever be bored if we get you out of the flow? Okay? So the flow helps people to get in it, okay? But then we got to get you out of the pattern so you're truly flowing. So for those of you who know Sombrata, okay, who know it, I want to see you doing it now out of the pattern. Because as I walk around, you're all doing it, but you're all doing the pattern. Okay? You're stuck in the pattern. So you got to fake one direction, go to another line, break out of it. It'll feel weird in the beginning. It'll feel like you're making a mistake. That little click, 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 click feels nice. Okay? And whenever you get out of that, it feels like you're screwing up. And what it is you lose your way and then you find your way back home. And you lose your way and you find your way back home. So this is possibly one of the most important projects for you right now, if you already know Sombrata, is to be able to break out of that pattern. And then you can do it unmatched weapons. Kick back and relax for a little bit. If you have some water, grab it. Hey, Ryan, can I get that water from your partner? That'll do. Have you gotten to teaching each other double stick Sombrata? Okay. Did you ever notice teaching that students don't get it? Because they have trouble differentiating which is the checking hand and which isn't? Okay, so you're both doing Sombrata. Okay, Ryan and Tom, where you guys at? That's okay. Just give me those two. Okay, that's okay. Okay, so this is double stick Sombrata. So we're flowing, but yet this stick, real slow now, is checking, 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 checking. Instead of my hand checking, the stick is checking. The stick is checking. So there's one stick that moves and one stick that checks. Now, what ends up happening, and I'll try to imitate what I see. Go. Okay? And but yet when you put this down and you ask them to do this, they're okay. But when you add this, okay, it like does something to the DNA. Okay? So there's a way to do it. There's a way to do it. First of all, have them take the stick and bring it all the way down to here, just like it's a check. Now, they already know how to do single sombrata. And you have them checking each time with the butt of the stick. And now, after they've done this, just like they used to do, I'd say, which part? The butt of the stick? Okay, so instead of being here, I take it down to where there is no stick, just like as before when I was using my hand. It's as close to my brain remembering the hand part. Hand, hand, hand. Okay? Once they've got it, and they can do 20 reps in a row, now watch. You walk up to them, don't move, and you do this. Okay? And now you go through the flow. Once they've got it, don't move. Okay? 20 times in a row, you do this. Okay? And now they're starting to remember which was the checking hand, and then obviously once they finally got it, you've got them choked up. Okay? Otherwise, you'll take 3 months doing what you could possibly accomplish in 3 hours. Okay? So what I want you all to do is go to double stick sombrata now. Okay? Double stick sombrata, and if any of you are having trouble differentiating which is a stick and which is a check, do the VU method. Okay? Let's go. Okay, sombrata. Now let's say you want to go off into sombrata for a week and never repeat yourself. This being the flow pattern, the drill, you write the word elements. Okay, so now we've already got the guy flowing. We've already got him out of the pattern. Okay, which means neither one of you guys know where that stick is coming. You think it's coming here, whoop, and he fakes it. Okay, so you've got it out of the pattern. Okay, now where do you go from here? How do you keep progressing? Every time I add an element to this equation, it's like adding a difficulty measure to your body. It's making it just a little bit harder. When you're in the middle of going here, boom, to pull off a savate kick, to pull off a little tie shot while you're going here, look where you disarm to let it go. I'm asking more and more of you, okay? What is the point of a self-perfection drill? It does what? Attribute training. Develop attributes. Right, yeah. So what happens, okay, what's the point of weight training? Get you stronger. What happens when you get used to a certain weight? You got to push it up. That's why it's called progressive weight training. Okay, you got to push it up. Otherwise, you'll be stuck on that weight. Okay, so what happens is the same deal. You learn the flow pattern, and either you get stuck in the flow pattern and you never break out of that, or you do learn to break out of the flow pattern, but the difficulty level never changes. So we start adding things. Okay, so if you're doing a flow pattern and you add the rear hand, okay, what's that called? Okay, yeah, what art? Boxing, Panantukan. If you are in the middle of flowing and you add an oblique kick, what is that? Pananjakman. If you are in the middle of flowing and, give me a stick, please, Greg. Thank you. Thomas, come on up. Hold that for me. So let's just say you're flowing, and you decide to add this. Okay. Tai Chi. There's a place for everything. Okay, let's say you want to kick the guy in the thigh. What's that? Thai. Muay Thai? Thai boxing. So you want to take a stick away from him. Okay. Let's say you want to headbutt him. What's that? Headbutts, knees, and elbows. Say you want to take him to the ground. What's that? Foot sweeps. Okay, this list, it's not my goal right now to give you an official list. Okay? It is my goal to show you the process, the concept. And the concept is, number one, you teach people how to flow. 5 strikes, 5 blocks. After they know how to flow, then you teach them how to break out of the pattern by throwing in fakes. Now that they've done that, now you start adding pieces. Adding pieces. Question?
I'm having difficulty sometimes saying, okay, do you go to double stick before you break into the other elements? You do say single stick sombrado or single knife or single blade. Carry along that line, break in the elements, or first teach them to double.
Great question. My answer is, not a great answer. Either way, I'll work on this one. Yeah, either way.
So do I venture off into Spotty Doggins and Wally?
That's the beauty. Did you all understand his question? Okay. Should I put in all this stuff, or should I start breaking up into different weapons before we put in the elements? Okay? Well, you see, that's the beauty of the very first thing I wrote on the board. You got a syllabus, but it wasn't written in granite, so it doesn't matter. That goes up to you, your own flow, your own feel. Who is it you're teaching? Do you want to get into double sticks with them? Do they need the coordination with the left hand? So it's a great question, but it's one of those questions that you get to pick. That's your individuality coming through. Okay? All right. Joe, question? Fake? Okay, anybody else? Anybody else here? Okay, so we know how to teach sombrada. We know how to define sombrada. So if a police officer or any federal person that you're talking to that would be saying, hey, you know, I'm going to be meeting deadly force. What the hell am I sitting in here with this blade doing this? Okay, you know exactly what to tell them. Okay, some kid in the street. Yo, I was in a knife fight. I didn't look like this. Okay, you got to sit them down and go, yo, bro, let me talk to you about why we're doing this. So you get to become an athlete. And then we're going to show you what to really do. Okay, because we haven't gotten into self-preservation yet. Okay? But just keep thinking of the tough man contest. Keep thinking about the guys that just duke it out. Okay? And but they have no finesse, no form, no body mechanics, no spatial relationship, no line familiarization, no timing, no coordination. And that's their good points. Okay? So what they've done is they've done all self-preservation and not enough self-perfection. And then you get that boxer with that perfect form, and he looks like Jesus. And you know the guy's put his self-perfection involved with the self-preservation. Okay? So, now, it is up to you. I don't care what you do. Could be Panajat. Could be Penjat. You can put in anything you want. Savat. Forgot to put in Savat. This list goes on and on. Okay? But I will tell you that the average person can retain 3 things. Okay? So, I'll use a childish analogy, but that always works for my brain. Okay, let's say you teach them sombrada, and the first thing out of sombrada that you're teaching them is pananjakman. So the guy goes, whoa, fuck, that's cool, pananjakman. You can kick while you're doing this. I like that, yeah. And then you go, well, now this is panantukan. So not only can I kick you while I do this, I can punch you, hook you, uppercut you. whoa, that is cool. I can kick and punch while I've got a stick in my hand. Okay, this is really cool. Well, let me show you something else. This is called Tai Chi. Okay? And you can throw this guy out into the range at the tip of your stick, or you can bring him back into you. If you want him to bring him back into you, you do this thing called Vunak. Okay? And then you can pull him right into you. And then, once you get him close enough, you can foot sweep him, and then you can put in foot sweeps. Okay? So y'all get my point. Okay? People retain 3 things at a time. So one of your goals as a teacher is to get them past 3 things. To get them past 3 things. So they're literally doing all of this stuff while they're flowing. Okay? So work with each other, talk to each other, tell each other, haven't seen a savate kick in a while. A fun drill to do is this, the mirror drill. You're doing sombrada, you're with somebody about your level, and you throw in a savate kick, bam. Then they got to throw in a savate kick. Then you throw in a Thai kick. Then they have to throw in a Thai kick. Okay, and then once you got that down, then mirror it in doubles. Go savate kick, Thai kick. Okay? Or panajakman. So, and now he has to mirror. That way what happens is everybody gets everyone's vocabulary. Okay? It's a fun drill to do. There's always, 5 different ways to skin a rabbit. And the secret to teaching is that you look at the rabbits and you go, which way works for you? Okay? As I've talked to this class, I know that the point that I would want to get across to you, if I wanted to get that same exact point across, let's say, to you, it would be 2 different ways. I'd be coming at 2 different angles. There's no right, there's no wrong. Okay? The way Aaron processes information is not the same as the way Joe processes information. So when I want to make a point to Joe, the analogies I use are going to be conducive to the way Joe processes information. Okay? So when you get into these individual things, that's where it goes back to being able to read, being back to be able to teach. You read your students, you see what they need, make sure they're having fun, make sure they're learning. We've got 1 hour to go, and then we will be done with Sombrada. Then we leave Sombrada go. We're done with it. Then we move on. We haven't touched on anything to do with self-preservation. We haven't touched on anything to do with numerata or serrata. What we did was we broke down the program, gave you the weapons, blocks, disarms, principles, how to teach it. Okay, so these are the important points that you should have so far. What's the one thing I haven't done so far? And I've done a lot of talking. I've been here in 2 hours. Haven't taught one single what? Not one single technique. I haven't taught. Do you know how many techniques I have?
You haven't asked any questions.
Pardon me?
You haven't asked us any questions.
Well,
That's where he came from.
I'm going to ask you guys tons of questions. What question would you like me to start with?
Where do we plan on eating lunch?
Well, actually, Jeff's got that all figured out. I live about an hour from here, but and I get lost coming out of a phone booth. But Jeff will help us out with that part. Okay, so I haven't taught any techniques for a reason. Techniques are not the most important thing. In fact, they're the least important thing. Okay, they are the least important thing. Think of a tree, and the roots of that tree are a person's attributes. And the trunk of the tree is the art that they use. So let's say they know to defang the snake, so they use kali. Good trunk. Okay? And the branches of that tree are what sort of training methods you do in Kali. Sarada, Sombrada, Numerata, sparring, full contact sparring, light sparring, double stick sparring, double stick against knife, knife against knife, knife against knife, 3-on-1, full contact, knife, double. This thing can get hardcore. God, we can get so hardcore with this thing. Okay? So we're up to the branches of the tree. Okay? Then finally, the leaves of the tree are techniques. It's the least important thing. When that big gust of wind comes, the leaves are the first thing to go. And see, what's funny is people that go to seminars, and I want you to go to seminars, but I want you to focus on the correct thing. I want you to go to a seminar and look who's teaching you and listen to what they have to say. Listen to their principles. Listen to their concepts. Do they make sense to you? And use it. There's a lot of good people out there. Okay? Listen to what they have to say. Don't worry about the techniques. Everybody's running around at these seminars collecting techniques. Like they got big bags full of leaves. Okay? And they throw them, and they go to another seminar and they collect it, and they're dragging it full of. But whether you can use those techniques or not, that's the most important thing. Okay? So if we can start with a blank slate. I had erased my format, but we can see the format: self-preservation, self-perfection. Okay? There are only 3 different types of training: Sombrata, Numerata, or Serrata. You're either flowing or you're feeding. Okay? And then what are the arts that you do? And then finally, what are the techniques? Does this stick should be here or here? Should your big toe be here or there? Section 3, paragraph 9. Blah, blah, blah. Okay? That's what people focus on. Okay? What you should be doing is looking at this guy and going, you know, this old man seems to get really this look in his eye when he gets closer, but he seems to kind of get this really relaxed look when he's out further. Well, I wonder if that has anything to do with anything. And you write that down. And notice his footwork never changes. Even if he has to make a little step, he's moving. All one of these guys are doing is hitting the other guy's hand. There's no fancy movements going on. There's no fancy techniques. Let's do it in 1/10 speed. Okay, Ryan's feeding. Cuts the hand, cuts the hand, cuts the hand, cut 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 the hand. So there is no fancy techniques to be done. It's just attacking the limb. Okay, now Tom, you feed. Smack the hand, 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 smack the hand. Doesn't matter what angle he does, as long as he keeps it relatively in center line and is cutting the hand or smacking the hand. Okay, break. Now, to differentiate, what did we do this morning with Sombrata? Okay, here one side is feeding and neither one can angle. That brings out a whole different set of attributes. Now let's go back to Sombrata where both sides are feeding. Now they're flowing. Neither one knows what's going to happen. They throw in fakes, they put in savat kicks, they put in tai chi. Okay, but the flow is going on, and it's one long blade against 2 short blades. Okay, now Ryan, you feed. Now this is Serrata. This is the difference. Now Tom, you feed. Okay, and Sombrata. And break. Okay, good job, good job. Okay, so we're only talking about training method. Okay, so nobody can, you know, run off and find something and come back and go, holy moly, I saw something that I've never seen before. It's got to fall within the confines of one of these training methods. Okay? So what I'm going to do now, get a question, yeah?
When they first start feeding, we're feeding with Serrata, we have it going up. Is there a basic way you want us to
Yes, yes, yes,
up this?
yes. And it's angles 1 through 5. I'm just about to show you that. Good question. Good. Any other questions? Okay, so we're doing Serrata. We're going to keep it, I think it's Spada Idaga is a good way to start learning Serrata. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to teach you first how to feed. But remember, they're not doing any fancy techniques. When they spar, they're smacking each other's hand. The closer guy wants to get in, the further guy wants to stay out. If they go full contact, they're still doing the same thing. If they're doing sombrata, they're cutting each other's hand every time. Okay? Go through a single knife only, sombrata. Everything they do, there's a cut, 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 break. See, because what's actually happening here is if this were sombrata, that's it. But we need to, what's the word flow mean? It means don't drop your knife. Okay? It means you got to flow. So we got to pretend like it didn't. I didn't feel that, he didn't feel that. So we're flowing. Otherwise, the minute he cuts me, then it would just be a follow-up and the fight would be over. So what you do is you move around, you're waiting for somebody, boom, you take the hand. The minute you cut the hand, you've defanged the snake. Now you can kill the snake or you can walk home and let it go. Okay? That's the whole idea. And everything we're doing, serrata, sombrata, and numerata, are all training methods to help you spar. That's all they are. They help you spar. So if you ever hear anyone saying, don't do anything but put a helmet on, everything else is a waste of time, this, that, and if they proscribe anything except sparring, okay, you'll know right away just by watching them move, because they'll look clumsy and ponderous. They'll look like the kind of guys that put on the gloves and have a tough man contest and says, you don't need focused gloves and you don't need to work that form stuff. Okay? And then on the other side of the fence, if you see guys that have never sparred in their life and they've been doing knife fighting programs for 18 years and you go, well, have you ever sparred? Well, no. So it's a blade. We don't spar, but and they've got 8 million drills that they're doing. They're too far on the right. Okay? So just like jiu-jitsu, just like kickboxing, just like trapping, okay, we want to reach that blend between self-perfection and self-preservation. Okay? Now, no questions so far. Okay, because we're getting into the meat of this. Okay, everybody put down your notebooks and grab a stick and a dagger and face me, please. Thank you, sir. You're teaching a course. Okay? Elaine, what did you say to me when we were just up there that regarding...
Oh, I thought an interesting way to teach this would be like a community knife. People would like to carry a knife. You know, women carry knives in their purses and don't you?
Yes. Yeah. Just to... It's a great idea.
Basics of how to safely use a knife and do something with it.
A lot of women that aren't martial artists carry a knife, okay? She wants to start a class. I love that. That's what this is about. I'm looking out at instructors, so when I have an instructor come up to me going, hey, I'm going to start a class, I'm like, yeah, good. Good idea. That's what I want. That's what I want from you guys, okay? There's no limit with this knowledge. I mean, this is, God, 30 years of information I'm condensing here. Okay? With this knowledge, if you teach it the right way, there'll be people knocking down your door. You just got to know where to find that vein, what departments to talk to, how to get in the door, okay? How to advertise for these sort of things. Okay, but you add this to your existing school and your existing curriculum. Okay, now pretend like you're teaching SEALs, cops, Army, DEA, FBI, I don't care who, okay? And you're teaching them reflexes now. Because one of them asked you, geez, you know, I was pinned against the wall and I had 2 guys with bottles and there was nothing I could do and I was just trying to tap these things. Do you have something that could improve my reflexes? And you're like, come here. Called serrata, okay? And now you are teaching serrata. So it's just another spoke in the wheel. Okay, ready? All I want you to do, I want your feet to move back and forth. You see, if I throw a weapon out, I am on balance, let's say. Now, if I throw another weapon out, my balance point was for the first weapon. So why do I move my feet? To get back to a balance point. So every time I'm throwing a weapon out, my feet are moving to correspond with the weapon to keep me on balance. You'll know where the balance points are. Don't worry about that. Just keep your feet moving. So let's start doing this, back and forth. Watch what I'm doing here. This has been called the female triangle. I personally don't know how you can give gender to geometry, but it goes like this. Okay? So you're coming up, you're coming back. Coming up, you're coming back. So just get the feet up. Pull the feet back. Now, when you first start off teaching, your student is going to not know what lines are coming at them. It's called line familiarization. So when your students are poor at line familiarization, you need to go slower. So this is the speed that I would feed in the beginning and allow my students to sit there and just cut the holy heck out of my hands as I feed these lines. And then what I start to do is I get to go boom, 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 boom. So I break up the rhythm until pretty soon I can feed and that person's on the other end reacting to every little thing. If you do serrata right, you should be nervous. You should feel that nervous thing. It's like you're leaning back in a chair and you went back too far because oh, you didn't see it coming. And that's the whole idea. If you're sitting here doing serrata like this, you're not doing it right. The feeder, it's like you have a cattle prod, and anytime you want, you can go to your student, and they jump. And that's what you're doing is you're feeding, whoop, and you stick one in and you get them to jump. And the more times you get them that nervous, if they were on EEG, it would go, okay? The more times you can get them to do that, the better you're helping them. It's a reflex drill. But if you sit there and just, it just, it won't do them any good. And if you sit there and keep it too slow, it won't do it any good. So what's the drill? What's the percentage? 70-30. All right? Okay, so feet angle 1 and a 5. Arm this to a 2 and a 5. Arm this to a 3 and a 5. Arm this to a 4 and a 5. 1, 5, 2, 5, 3, 5, 4, 5, 5, 5. Now go 1, 5, 3, 4. Start breaking it up. I don't care what angle your stick goes now. Keep your feet moving. Keep your feet moving. Keep the stick going out. Focus straight ahead. Straight ahead. Come to an angle 4 sometimes, which means you got to put it under your arm. We're going to go 2 more rounds like that. Every person that you feed is going to be a little bit different, okay? So you need to always start off slow and work your way onto the speed. Okay? Do we all have hand gear? Yes? Okay. Serrata, you have a propensity to rack the knuckles because everybody's in the center line. So when I do serrata, I always put my bag gloves on. You guys can do what you want. Okay? I just recommend bag gloves if I were you. Okay? So we're going to go 1 more round just like that. Your feet look pretty good. You were nice and low. Your feet were moving. Okay? Look good to me. But if your student starts zoning and you go here and he takes off, you go, get your butt back here. You got to stay right here, and you got to keep them right in front of you. That's the whole idea is when the heat starts coming in, they want to start zoning so they can do numerata, which is naturally the best thing to do. Okay? And we can't have that. Now, serrata is something that we normally teach people in the beginning, right? No. Why? Bad habits. Yeah, you're not using your footwork. We're telling you, please do the opposite of everything that Kali lives for. Okay? Don't zone, don't angle, just stay right in front of all the blows and take them all in just like a boxer. Okay? Don't try to destroy it in straight blast. Just stay right there. Okay? So once you know how to do it, then we can show you how to undo it to make it more difficult. So this is why I saved this for one of the last things. Okay, ready? And go. keep your stick. Okay, and now the rear hand becomes the punching hand. The rear hand becomes the punching hand. Ready? Good. Now let's put down the stick and grab the knife, please. Okay, the knife is the feeding hand. The rear hand is the punching hand. Go. This is Serrata. If you saw Ryan and I, grab a stick, Ryan. Thrust, butt, flip. Okay. Thrust, butt, flip. Yeah. If you see us doing this drill, and you go, you know, I just came from this Vunak seminar. He's talking about Serrata, Sombrata, Numerata, but what is this? Okay. Where would that fit?
Close range.
Close range. But what are we doing? Is he feeding me? Am I feeding him, or are we flowing?
Sombrata.
Flowing. Yeah. We're flowing. Are we sparring? No. So it's not self-preservation, so we can hack that out. Okay? One side's not feeding, so it's not Numerata, it's not Serrata, so it is a type of Sombrata. Exactly. There's tons and tons of drills. You'll always find a neat new drill, but understand that it's going to fall within the matrix of what we have. You're feeding, I'm feeding, you can angle or you can't angle, or we're flowing. That's it. Okay? We're sparring. We're either sparring full contact or we're sparring light. That's all there is. Okay? Ain't no more. I'm doing this, swinging the stick for 30 years. I can tell you there are no secret doors. There's no secret information. There's no secret move that you can say, hey, wow, I learned this new. Okay? It's only in here. It's only in here. It's like if somebody came up to you, pick a sport that you're all familiar with, soccer, hockey, football, and they came up to you and said, I saw this new kind of pass. Man, and this pass is going to blow away the NBA. It's a new kind of pass. It's around the back. Okay? Or I found this new way of running. Or I saw. That's never going to change, right? Basketball, what is going to make the ball go in the hole? Okay? The man, the dude, the human being that is shooting the ball. What's going to make this guy run past this guy? It is the person. There are no secret ways to run. You can beat the guy to the right, beat the guy to the left, spin off the right, spin off the left, put your head down, duck, and go right through him. That's it. You can't dig a hole, and you can't jump over him. There's only so many ways to run past somebody. Okay? You fake left and go right, or you fake right and go left. You're done. That's it. There are no new ways of running. Okay? So when you teach and you do seminars, it is really fulfilling for students to say, hey, you know, I see the big picture here. Okay, I can see that there's all this information out there, and man, my head gets scrambled, but when you put it like that, it's really not that complicated. Okay, and so put it like that. Okay, all right, one more round, please. Last round. Any feed you want, anything. A stick, a knife, stick and knife. Okay, ready, and go. If anybody that has never done Serrata in their life, come on over to this end, please. Everybody else, grab a partner and you get on that end. Okay, Tom and Ryan, you guys take care of this end. Good. Good. Okay? I want to add something. I want to add that cattle, bzz, okay? Okay. Now watch. Go ahead and start flowing. Watch her all of a sudden move quick, though, when she's going at a certain pace, she's going at a certain pace, she's going at a certain pace. Whoop, whoop. How many times have you done this?
No, I've not done this before.
Okay?
You're brave not wearing gloves.
All right, so break it up. You can feed anybody. They don't ever have to have done it before, but still get it, make it alive. Okay, still make it alive. I still want to see that little flinching thing coming out once in a while.
How you refer to this as a catalyst, something that just accelerates that?
Yeah, I do.